Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of D-Ray's Garage, where today we're going to be talking about these new TS-5s from Titan7. Pretty sweet looking wheels here. What they're going to do for me is take me down from 20 inches to 19 inches, give me a little bit more sidewall, and probably soften up the ride just a hair to make it a little bit more comfortable when riding around town. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to talk you through the wheels and why I did it a little bit more while applying this C5 wheel armor. If you've seen me do this before on my last round of Setter Vossen wheels, no great surprises there. But if you didn't and you're interested in these wheels, you want to check them out a little bit, that's cool. I'll kind of give you a full 360 of them here. And you can check out all the cool features, the knurled edges there to grab onto your rubber. The fact that the flared rear of the barrels here, so you've got that clearance that you need front and back. And then we'll talk about sizes and the rubber we're going to be wrapping around this shortly. While there is no better time to do this than when you have new wheels, because all I have to do is kind of put off any of the industrial manufacturing process gunk off of here before I apply this. You can do this with wheels that you've had in use, and I've done it before too. You just got to give them a really good clean to get them to this stage. Whatever your degreaser of choice is, I use this eraser stuff here from CarPro. Mostly I've used it in the past for when I'm working on, when we're buffing paint and whatnot. It's a good to get that off of anything on your paint or gloss and clear coat before you start buffing away, and it clears off after the fact as well. So just as simple as that on the barrels, that's pretty straightforward there. And then this is the 5-spoke design, which is the 5 tines there spilling off into 10 touch points here on the outer rim, which I think is where the TS-5 comes from. Not a wheel you cannot buy, certainly style-wise, from a variety of manufacturers. What is interesting about Titan7 is you're paying rotary forged prices for a fully forged wheel, meaning this was cut out of one piece of forged metal. So, I'll post a link down below and maybe do some vanity footage here on screen to show you, how the manufacturing process goes, but it's pretty slick. What that really means is you get lighter weight and a greater structural integrity, so you get better strength, combined with that lighter weight, which is obviously a difficult juxtaposition to get into. And then rotary forged is kind of a hybrid of a cast forging as well as some rotary finishing. But the biggest difference is with Titan, recommended by Gatos and other guys over at Soul Performance Products as well, and they know what they're talking about, is the price. For just under $3,000 for a set of these, if you're granted it's designed in America, made in China, so if you have feelings about that, that might be tricky, but otherwise you're getting a really good set of wheels that you can race on if you so choose for under that $3,000 mark in most cases. They have a couple of different styles. I did a 19 by 9 and a 19 by 11. So obviously that's front and rear. I'm going to be going to my buddies over at Discount Tire here in Fountain Hills this week when my Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's come in. This is the C5. This is the applicator that comes with it. I'm going to do the fronts first, then I'm going to do the barrels. In fact, probably should put this on my left hand since I don't want to show you my back the entire time. And yeah, it's a pretty clean process. We'll be putting it on. You're supposed to do half wheel at a time. I might be too lazy to do that. And we'll let it flash off here and just wipe it off with a fresh microfiber. And what this is going to essentially do is make sure that I have an easier time cleaning all these fun, intricate little areas of these great looking wheels. I'd be interested on your commentary. I haven't put it technically up to the car yet, but being that the Spyder is GT Silver, I'm a little concerned going with this satin anthracite color. I could have gone with black. Black wheels can disappear a little bit, certainly in videography and photography. In real life, they look great. Don't get me wrong, I've got the OEMs on the Spyder back there. I had put those Apex wheels on to the 987 I had, and they look great in person, but you gotta be a pretty talented photographer to actually get out all of the detail on a black wheel. So I'm hoping this will show up a little better, but there is a bit of that Regis Philbin potential here, right? Wherein, you know, you've got that monochrome look going on. I think it's gonna look pretty good. And this does seem darker than the actual paint. Maybe I'll show you and me that before this video is done. You can see here, this is not rocket science. And I'm sure you will notice where I miss some nook or cranny or double up somewhere in here. But the essence being, we're going to get more protection on here, which will just protect the wheels a little bit more from dust and whatnot. Not protect it so much as make it easier for me at cleaning time to make it repel a little better. And then typically coatings like these have additional UV protection, which probably plays a little bit less in terms of a wheel. But, you know, for 50 bucks, seems like a good spend. And then here's my microfiber. You want to use a microfiber you're not enamored with, because you're going to wind up throwing these away, because 24 hours later you'll notice that they stiffen up pretty good, and that's because the ceramic coat will actually set onto a microfiber and stiffen it up. And in fact, when I open this bottle, you might be able to make it out here, it's kind of a little crystallized. I'm not sure it's going to show up great. Is it going to focus? Maybe not. Get my face out, it might. But that had crystallized up without ever having been opened. So that's the glass or whatever the compounds are forming. It's a kind of seaside effect. And this will take you, you know, maybe 5 minutes a rim. And it's cheap. It's cheap. Spare yourself later in the cleaning department, because when you've got all these spokes and intricacies, it can be a little annoying. So having anything that will help stuff come off is a win. Well, what you'll see here is I've got all these stampings, which are accreditations for, you know, the roadworthiness and the strength of these wheels. So these accreditations are apparently a big deal. Anyone that knows anything about wheels probably knows a little bit more than I do. Why I do the outside first is there's just little, you can't see it very well from your side, but there are these little overruns of the ceramic coating that show up on the inside. So by doing this second, I make sure that we even all that out and there are no random high spots left in the inside of the wheel, as much as nobody's really ever going to see that. Inside of here we do have the markings etched in with all the size parameters, which is just a nice feature. And then so I teased you with the rubber, we're going to go with the Pilot Sport 4S's. I could have gone Cup 2s. It's pretty aggressive for someone that's really not going to spend any time on the track. And so I did just go down the 4S path. They seem to be well reviewed, and they'll probably give me a couple extra 1,000 miles, so a little better value for money. You're paying about the same money for a Cup 2 as you are a PS4S, but you know, my about and your about might be different, so don't judge. And what I'm going to be putting on there size-wise is this is the rear rim, so I'm going with a 295/35 on the rear here, and then a 245/40 up front, which should give me clearance, should give me a quarter inch up front of extra width, and then about a ½ inch just over on the rear than I have now on the 235/265 setup. So excited to get all that. So once you've convinced yourself you've removed any high spots, any weirdness, it'll look just like you started pretty much. But now it's got this invisible layer of make it easier to clean protection on there. So give it one last look. You can do 2 coats if you want. I've never done that because I'm lazy. But if you got enough material and you do, you're more than welcome to. I'll spare you the other 3. And next I see you, I'll be showing you some rubber going on these suckers.